Welcome back to the Xan Shoob College Football Podcast. If you're watching here on YouTube, Xan is out today. He is busy with pharmacy school this week, so we have another guest appearance from ZKS. How we doing, bud? Thanks for the last second fill in once again for Xan. We greatly appreciate it. He's going to help us do our picks here today. Xan gave his picks as well, so we're going to go through it. So the Week 12 slate, dude, let's get going. Last week was a great week of college football. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hopefully we get another good week. So let's start off in the Big Ten, man. Illinois, Michigan. Illinois, of course, coming off a pretty heartbreaking loss last week to Purdue. We know we probably have a handful of Illinois fans on this channel because of the dynasty. Still have a chance to win the Big Ten West, man, but their path to Indianapolis just got a lot tougher now. And Michigan is an 18-point favorite. What's your take here in this game?
Shoob, I like Michigan straight up. And give me the Illini to cover the 18 because we can't forget that Michigan's playing Ohio State. So I do think the Buckeyes will be on their mind as they play the Illini. So I say they keep it within 3 tutties.
Yeah, so I have no doubt that Michigan is going to win this game. I'd be very shocked, honestly, if Illinois were to pull off the upset. It is in the big house as well. The thing is, the spread makes it very interesting. And to be honest, I'm not very confident in this one at all. But I know Chase Brown got a little bit banged up and whatnot, but I think that Michigan is going to cover the spread. And again, I'm not super confident in it, but I think this is one of those games where Michigan knows they can't afford to look ahead next week to Ohio State. And they know that Illinois, even though they dropped a couple games, they've certainly been on Michigan's radar. So I think that Michigan will be able to do enough and generate enough offense against this Illinois defense to cover this 18 points. But again, I'm not super confident in it. So let's move on into the Big 12. TCU, 2.5-point favorite on the road against Baylor. It seems like perhaps the sports books aren't rating TCU as highly as maybe a lot of people think they should be. I tend to agree with that sentiment. However, I definitely value the sports books' judgment of how good teams actually are than the common fan. So TCU is only 2.5-point favorite at Baylor. Baylor did not look very good last week against Kansas State. They lost that game by 4 touchdowns. TCU, especially defensively, looked really good last week against Texas. What do you got here?
I don't see a Texas hangover here. TCU money line. TCU covers. They're still playing for a playoff spot. They're not just content making it to the Big 12 championship. I think they come in here and they beat Baylor by more than the field goal.
So I'm not going to lie. I've given a lot of thought about this game, and I've given a lot of thought to picking Baylor to upset TCU here.
I love it. Wouldn't it be hilarious?
Wouldn't it be hilarious? Yes. The thing is, Baylor looked pretty awful last week against Kansas State, yes. This game's in Waco. What happened last year when these two teams were in similar situations, except it was flipped? Baylor was the one playing for the Big 12 championship, and TCU had a lame duck head coach in Gary Patterson. Honestly, I don't even remember if Gary Patterson was gone by that point or not.
He was gone, I'm pretty sure.
Either way, this was a team that had their head coach walk away, that really had not much to play for at all. And they beat Baylor, a team that won the Big 12 that year. Wouldn't it be funny if this year, when the situation is flipped, TCU is everything to play for right now and Baylor ends up upsetting them? Listen, Vegas is telling you this game is going to be pretty close. I'm going to be that guy, man. I'm going to be that guy. I'm picking Baylor.
I love it.
I said to myself, I'm going to do this on the fly here because that's normally what I do. I'm going to roll the dice, man. I'm picking Baylor to upset them. Now, I know this seems a little crazy, a little dumb, but just look at what happened last year. It is a rivalry game, and we know what happens in these rivalry games, dude. I'm telling you, if the script was flipped this year, it would be something else. And I think Baylor can pull this off. I do not think they will be nearly as bad as they were last week. And I think they will show up to play this game. I think they can do it. Obviously not mega confident in it, but I'm going to roll the dice and do it for the sake of the picks, man. So
Shoob, in a world where Kansas, Syracuse, and Duke are all bowl eligible at the same time. There is no stupid take. I can promise you that.
Exactly. I I love TCU this year, man, but I have a really hard time seeing them finishing 13-0. I just think there will be a loss planted in there. It is extremely difficult to go 13-0 when you do not have a roster that is built like Georgia or Ohio State. So hopefully I'm wrong for the Big 12 sake and for TCU's sake, but we shall see. And by the way, I forgot to mention Xan took TCU to cover and win versus Baylor, and he also took Michigan to cover and win against Illinois. So I won't forget to mention Zan's picks here. How about the ACC? NC State against Louisville. Louisville's a 4-point favorite. What do you got here?
Especially if Cunningham plays, Louisville wins straight up. Louisville covers the 4. I just think NC State, they are not the same team without Devin Leary. I think Cunningham can do enough to get the Cards more than 4.
I do tend to agree with that. Louisville also is another team that has been playing well lately. They did lose to Clemson last week, but they didn't necessarily get rolled over by Clemson. And you're right. It is very hard to peg what kind of team NC State really is this year. And I know we talked about it earlier on part 1 of this podcast, which, by the way, if you haven't listened to the full podcast, I know most of you watching this here on YouTube, go and listen to our podcasts. There's a lot more that we cover. And in part 1, we talked about how this NC State loss to Boston College last week was a lot of nonsense that happened at the end of the game. But with that being said, shouldn't be messing around with Boston College. It's that classic meme. You're going to F around against Boston College, you're going to find out. The
Well,
refs
that's
are
what
going to make you
happened.
find
Yeah,
out. The
that's what
refs are
happened. You
going to make you
shouldn't.
find out
You,
sometimes. And that's
you
what happened to NC State. So it's kind of hard to trust NC State right now. And I wouldn't have said this at the beginning of the year. It was like the opposite. But now I trust Louisville more than I trust NC State. Give me Louisville to win and give me Louisville to cover. And I feel pretty confident about Louisville cover. I just do not
that
trust NC State right now.
that's unity right there. So you know NC State's winning
That is
like
unity.
across the
Zan
board.
has Louisville covering and winning this game as well. So that Cardinals logo is flashing across the board here. Back into the Big 12, Texas -9 at Kansas. Boy, all I'm going to say is that if Kansas were to beat Texas for the second year in a row, it'd be pretty funny, wouldn't it? Even though Kansas is good this year, it'd be pretty funny. What is your verdict here?
Texas straight up. Kansas makes them work for it though, and they keep it close. So Texas will win. Kansas will lose by 9 points or less. And it's in Lawrence, so
It is
people will
in
show up
Lawrence.
for that. It's Texas. They'll show up. Even with basketball season starting. This is actually a bowl eligible team, so they still care.
You know what, man? I'm channeling my inner Chip Patterson this week. Give me Kansas. Give me Kansas to win this game.
I love it.
Wouldn't
I,
it be
I
funny?
mean,
It's just, wouldn't it be funny? I'm playing the wouldn't it be funny card this week,
I
and
mean,
I'm
I might
picking
throw.
two big Big 12 upsets. Give me Kansas over Texas. I'm picking the Jayhawks 2 years in a row against Texas. It's in Lawrence. Texas just lost out, not officially, but they, in all practical purposes, will not be going to the Big 12 championship game because Kansas State has a leg up on them. It still is possible, but give me Kansas, man. Give me Kansas. I think Leipold can do it again. I think Kansas is a very sneaky underdog in this game. At the very least, I would be confident in that cover, the +9 points. So maybe Texas squeaks out a close one, but I think Kansas can get it done. So how about Iowa and Minnesota, dude? This game, this game has a lot riding on it. And that's not necessarily something that we would have thought a couple weeks ago, but now this game is extremely important for the division. And Iowa, if they win this game, if either of these teams win this game, they're in very good shape to win the Big Ten West. So it has become a very important game in terms of getting to the Big Ten championship. What's your take here?
We're gonna row that boat, baby. Give me Minnesota straight up. Give me Minnesota to cover.
I love
Even
it.
though they're starting the kid whose name I cannot pronounce, I still have faith in these Gophers and Mo Ibrahim and PJ Fleck.
I unfortunately do not have faith in the Gophers, and I have faith in the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yes, that is right. Iowa, to their credit, they've been playing better in recent weeks. They have been playing better. They've been winning games against very decent teams, and their defense is playing top-notch football right now. Their offense has gone from just like straight up horrendous to poor. So again, they are playing
Improvement.
poor offense, but they are elevated themselves from playing like gouge your eyes out, level of offense to just poor offense. And frankly, if you're a team like Iowa, that's all you really need to do to win this game. So give me Iowa to win this game and by default cover this spread. And Xan Xan said he thinks Iowa will win this game, and he said the Iowa Black Magic Voodoo will win this game. So Xan is predicting that Iowa will win with some punt block touchdowns, a kickoff return touchdown, a scoop and score, and a pick six off of a deflection. That is how Xan is predicting Iowa will win this game. And honestly, I could totally see that one happening. This total, by the way, is at 32.5. So I think that just tells you it's going to probably be one of those games.
Especially if
So,
it's snowy.
yes, absolutely. That is always a possibility this time of year. Moving on here, how about a big game in the Mountain West? Who would have thought at the beginning of the year that Wyoming would be playing in almost a de facto division championship game against Boise State? If Boise State wins this game, they will clinch the Mountain Division and go to the championship game out there in the Mountain West. If Wyoming wins, all they have to do is beat Fresno State next week, and Wyoming will go to the championship game. It is in Laramie. However, Boise State is a 14-point favorite. What is your verdict here?
I'm going to take Boise State straight up. I'm going to take Wyoming the cover because I just don't see Wyoming getting blown out in the game with the division on the line at home.
See, you guys are being a little bit too nice to Wyoming. Give me Boise to win this game, and I think Boise will cover those 14 points. I think Wyoming is a little fraudulent. If you look at Wyoming's last 4 games, look at the teams that they have beat. They beat New Mexico, who was very terrible, by 13 points. They beat Utah State by 14, which that was a very good win. I'll give them credit for that. They beat Hawaii, who was very terrible, by only 7 points. And they beat Colorado State, who is also very terrible, by only 1 point. This Wyoming team isn't necessarily as good as their record shows. And this Boise State team is as good as their record shows. And I think Boise State will have it coming for them. So I'm going to pick them to win. I think they can win this game by possibly 17, maybe even 3 touchdowns or more. So give me Boise both ways. Xan has Boise winning, but Wyoming covering as you do. So that'll be interesting there on that spread. Now into the SEC, Ole Miss coming off a heartbreaking loss to Bama last week. They are on the road at Arkansas. Ole Miss is a 2.5-point favorite. What is your verdict here?
Ole Miss straight up. Ole Miss covers the spread as well. I just think Arkansas is not the same team when KJ Jefferson doesn't play. So I think Ole Miss can beat them by a touchdown for sure.
I haven't seen the
At the
latest
least.
updates. Is KJ Jefferson going to be healthy for this game or not?
I am not 100%, but I know if you follow college fantasy football on Twitter, they can get you all the injury updates and, and news that you'll need. So at this moment, though, I do not know.
Yeah, so with that in mind, it is hard to take Arkansas with KJ not playing. However, we saw this Arkansas team with Malik Hornsby almost beat LSU last week. And Ole Miss, frankly, isn't really that great of a team, in my opinion. I really do not believe Ole Miss is as good as their ranking shows. Give me Arkansas, man. Give me Arkansas. I'm rolling with it this week,
Both
man.
ways,
Yeah, by default,
feeling the
Arkansas is a 2.5
underdogs.
point dog, so by default, they're going to win and cover this spread. I think that Arkansas can get a win here. I just think this is one of those games where Ole Miss sort of slips up. Maybe they're looking ahead to the Egg Bowl, but Ole Miss is just not that great of a team, and they just are not good enough to finish 10-2, in my opinion. Like I just can't fathom Ole Miss being a 10-2 team that is in play for a New Year's Six Bowl. They are not that great of a team. And I think they're going to drop one of these next 2 games to Arkansas and Miss State. And I'm just going to say it's going to be Arkansas here up front. So give me the Hogs both ways. And hey, if they do it with Malik Hornsby, then even better. But Xan also has Ole Miss covering and winning this game. So a little bit of disagreement here. I feel like I'm going on off the rails here this week with my picks, but I'm picking some upsets this week. Now moving on to Bedlam, Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 7.5 point favorite. What is your take in this game?
Last year's game was incredible. And I don't think OU, even with a new coaching staff, forgot about that loss. It's in Norman. OU wins the game. I have no faith in Spencer Sanders' health. If he gets banged up, this spread is blown out of the water. So OU is going to cover 7.5. So I'm taking the Sooners both ways.
Yeah, health is a very big factor going into this game. Oklahoma State, of course, has been dealing with it big time with injuries this year. And Spencer Sanders has said that he's going to play in this game, and that obviously is vital in this game right here. If Spencer Sanders does not play, OU is probably going to win this game by multiple scores. But because Spencer Sanders will very likely play, I am going to take Oklahoma State to cover the spread. However, I'm also going to take Oklahoma to win because I just do not have big faith in Oklahoma State just winning this game outright right now. I think it is certainly possible if Spencer Sanders plays the full game, but with his injury risk right now, you have to factor in what if Spencer Sanders gets hurt during the middle of this game if he takes contact? Then all of a sudden, when you throw out Gunnar Gundy or Garrett Rangel, yeah, it's going to go downhill. It's going to go south really quickly if that happens. And you have to factor that in here, and that's probably why the spread is so high for Oklahoma. So I am going to safely take OU to win and take Oklahoma State to cover this spread. But hopefully this will be a good game. This game always has a history of being a great one. So hopefully it lives up to the billing this year. All right, so moving on here. Let's go back into the Pac-12 here with these final two games. USC is a 2.5 point favorite on the road at UCLA. CKS, man, what did you take in this game?
Give me UCLA both ways. It's going to be a Rocket Stadium at the Rose Bowl, and I like the Bruins to take down their rival in USC.
I like it. Yeah, of course, both of these games, USC and UCLA, and then Utah versus Oregon, just extremely critical in the Pac-12 championship race. USC right now is in the driver's seat because they only have that one conference loss. And frankly, USC is probably the Pac-12's best chance at making the college football playoff. We talked a lot about that earlier in part one of this podcast. With that being said, I don't think USC is going to be the playoff contender for the Pac-12 if there is a playoff contender. And if you've been following us all season long, you know that I have sort of had a not intentionally, but unintentionally have sort of formed a little bit of a vendetta against USC with these picks because I've picked against them almost every single time that we could so far this season. And hey, man, I got to stick to the brand, man. I got to be on brand. I'm going to stick with my convictions. I like UCLA a lot. I like UCLA in this bounce back situation. I think they should honestly be the team that's favored in this game. Both defenses, not the greatest in the world. Both offenses, we know are going to put up points. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that. It's just going to be a matter of which defense can get an extra stop here and there, which defense can force a field goal instead of give up a touchdown here and there, which offense converts in the red zone more often. That's what these types of games come down to. It'll be really entertaining. I'm really looking forward to it. And I really like the value on UCLA plus 2.5 there. So give me the Bruins to win and cover the spread outright. So should be interesting, man. Now moving on to the Pac-12, our final game here, Utah against Oregon. Oregon, of course, we talked about it so much already, coming off a heartbreaking loss to Washington. They're a 3-point favorite hosting Utah. Pac-12 championship implications are huge in this game. The winner has a very good track to get to the Pac-12 championship game, assuming they control the rest of their business. So it's huge from that regard, and it's a very interesting spot. What do you got here?
Give me Utah both ways, and I hope Cam Rising's actually playing, and there's no funny business.
Wow. So I'm going to actually disagree with you here, man. I'm going to take Oregon to win. I'm going to take Oregon on the bounce back here, and I'm also going to take Oregon to cover as well. Xan agrees with me. He's taking Oregon both ways. I think that Oregon is still a very good team. I still do think that Oregon is the best team in the Pac-12. They just sort of had a little bit of a slip-up game against Washington. And I believe if you were to replay that game again, I think Oregon would win. And I think that Oregon is going to bounce back here. I think that Oregon, their pass defense isn't necessarily the greatest, but what does Utah like to do a lot? They love to run the ball. Oregon's rush defense is still pretty solid. I could totally see Utah coming in there and getting a win, but I'm putting a little bit of my faith in an Oregon bounce back scenario there. So that'll be interesting. So a lot of disagreement this week with our picks. I think mainly due to me sort of going off the rails here with some of these picks. I am very tired. If you can't tell, we're recording this late at night, so I'm ready to go to bed. So hopefully I don't wake up and regret when I edit this video. Hopefully I don't regret some of these picks here. But taking Baylor to upset TCU and taking Kansas to cover 9 points and beat Texas, taking Arkansas without KJ Jefferson to beat Ole Miss. I mean, hey, if I'm right, I'm a genius. If I'm wrong, it's because I was tired and sleepy and wasn't thinking straight. So that's my excuse. So
I mean, that's why I would do my brackets after a night of drinking with the boys, because then I'd be, oh, well, I did this, after drinking. So how about that 14 seed pulling that upset?
Exactly, man. Once again, ZKS filling in at the last second for Xan, who has scholastic obligations this week. We appreciate it, man.
A healthy scratch.
So thank you for watching this video, for watching here on YouTube, and we will see you next week. Enjoy your college football Saturday.
God bless.
Mountaineer Nation, let's ride. Mountaineer Nation, let's ride. Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.